Hey you guys, I hope everybody is doing well. If you are new here, thank you for clicking on this video. I hope you will stick around. And for my current subscribers, welcome back. It's always good to see you guys. So this is the second episode of Behind the Scenes, and the only thing I built for my second Machinima was the cemetery, and it was for Isabel's father's funeral. I wanted this cemetery to have a tall fence, but I didn't want it to be too vampire-y. I wanted it to kind of like fit into Willow Creek and not be so like spooky. So I used two fences. I used the fence from Romantic Garden, which is not tall enough. So then I used some debug fence from Vampires. The nice thing about the debug fence is it's not snapping to the grid. It can be put anywhere, and if I were to just use two regular fences, it wouldn't work because you couldn't put one fence over the other fence. If you have the tool mod in your game by Twisted Mexi, you can clone debug items by having that object selected and then shift clicking for tool, and then having that object toggled and then shift alt on it, and you can clone them. It's a really nice feature. I think that Better Build By has it also, but I don't have that mod in my game. And here I'm going to build this mausoleum. It's not really seen in the video, but I'm going to keep this cemetery, and I will probably use it later on. I do end up changing the color of all the columns and the statues here because, again, I didn't want like a creepy vibe cemetery. Just wanted it to be a normal cemetery that you would see in, Willow Creek. So I edited this down for time's sake, and I cut out the part where I'm switching the swatches, and I did add this door. This is from the Vampire pack. And I wanted the mausoleum to kind of have a grander staircase. So this is a debug staircase from Snowy Escape. It's not functional, but you see I did add a stair here and the sim was able to walk up it, but I didn't need it in the video, so I just deleted it. But it could be done if you wanted something like that. My most favorite feature right now of the tool mod is the scale feature. This is a newer feature and it is amazing. You can make anything any size you need it to be. For example, like a rug or something. If you size it down and it's too small, or you size it up it's too big, with scale you can make it exactly the size you want it to be. And here I'm just using the regular headstones from the base game. I didn't use any of the vampire ones because they remind me a little bit of the Haunted Mansion at Disneyland. And while I love the Haunted Mansion at Disneyland, it's not the look I was going for. Maybe when the new pack comes out, maybe I'll be doing something like that. We'll see. For my own personal gameplay, I have to admit that the ghosts in the game really annoy me, and if I have a sim die, I always release their spirit right away so I'm not haunted by the ghost. And with that said, discussing the upcoming pack, I think the whole concept of it is pretty cool, the whole paranormal ghost hunting thing. Although that's really not my thing, I think it was a good idea and looks interesting. If it was my thing, then I would probably be really into it. I am going to get the pack. I do want the build by, and I'll probably play through it just to check it out and see how it was made and stuff. For the casket, I wanted to have like the opening in the ground where the casket gets lowered into. I honestly don't know the technical term for that, but when you're at a funeral and you're at the graveyard and then they're going to lower the casket into the ground, I wanted it to look like that. So I used a foundation piece, and then with the platform I lowered the platform down to put it down into the ground. And at first I used some regular outdoor landscaping flowers for the casket to put on top of it, but then I realized like in the winter they were going to be all dead and wilted and not look very nice, and that is when the scene took place. So then I ended up changing that, but you could have them on there, the regular outdoor landscaping flowers, in the summer, and that would look really nice. Had it been a summer funeral, I would have just left the flowers as they were because I did like how it looked. And here you can see I'm just doing some Bob Ross terrain painting. I wish that they had a little bit more finer tools for the terrain painting, because sometimes I find it really hard to go at a curve. I'm not very good at it. Some people make paintings of people with terrain paint, and I'm like, whoa. The terrain painting tools make me feel super clumsy at it. If only there was just one smaller sized brush.
Just one smaller sized brush, that's it.
This is Park Shore. It's a 40 by 30 lot in Willow Creek. I'm going to add more headstones to fill up the cemetery some, but near the casket I'm going to leave a little bit of an open space so when the Machinima the family can stand there. I did put a dirt border around the path, but I edited out of the video because I think we've seen enough terrain painting for one day. And now I'm just adding some landscaping around the mausoleum. My original plan was to line the entire interior wall of the cemetery with bushes, but for time's sake, I just ended up putting them behind the casket. Building the cemetery took me a little bit more time than I thought it would, so then I just ended up focusing on the parts that would be in the Machinima. So here's where I changed it to winter, and sadly, all my casket flowers died. I end up using this flower arrangement from Seasons and sizing it up and putting it on top of the casket. And then I add just a little bit more flower arrangements around the casket, and then I'm going to add some flowers to some of the graves throughout the cemetery. If you play on PC, I highly recommend the mod MC Command Center. This is probably a mod I could not live without. It's very easy to change the weather, the time, the season, to have all the cheats on every time you start your game. You do not have to put in any cheats. It's an amazing mod. There's so many things you can do with it. And look who popped up while I was building my cemetery. You know he had to come check it out. I'm just adding a little bit more landscaping to my cemetery, and I am using tool to push these down into the ground so they're not floating plants. And then finally I'm just going to add a little light dusting of terrain paint on top of the graves so that it has a more natural look to it. If you haven't been watching my Machinima series, I hope you guys will check that out. There will be links for it at the end of this video in the description box. And that is all for this video. I hope you liked it, and I'll see you guys again soon. Bye!